Good morning, GTS retail partners, and welcome to our Wednesday edition of our Retailer to Publisher webinar series, where we bring retailers and publishers together to talk about upcoming projects or recent releases. And today we're very pleased to have Patrick O'Hagan from WizKids with us. My name is Scott Bohr. I am your category manager for gaming specialty products, which includes gaming accessories like dice trays, those kinds of things that enhance your play of the game, as well as miniature games and role-playing games. So both categories that are near and dear to WizKids, product lines that support both. And today we have with us Patrick O'Hagan, as I said, from WizKids. And before we jump in with his presentation and all the really cool stuff he has to show us, I do want to mention just real quick how the format works here. If you have questions for, excuse me, if you have questions for Patrick or myself, you can hover your mouse over your screen there, and you'll see that there's a chat button down at the bottom of the screen that appears. You click on that, and over on the right-hand side of your screen, a panel will show up with a webinar chat. You can submit questions there, and I'll be moderating that so Patrick can focus on the presentation. And then you have two options for who sees that message when you type it in. There's one that's just all panelists, which is Patrick and myself, or panelists and all panelists and attendees, in which case everyone would see it and perhaps benefit from the question. So it's up to you which one you click there. I do want to mention, just before Patrick jumps in, that GTS is participating in the Manticore Paint Night set, which we'll get a look at here in a few minutes. And it's something that we're real excited about being a part of. And I wanted to just provide a link that you can use to sign up if you haven't already. You can just jump in on this link, fill out the form that's attached there, and then you'll be able to register through GTS distribution to get up to 12 of those for your store to participate in their Paint Night event. And if you don't know what that is yet, I'll let Patrick explain a little bit more about it and perhaps even show the box and such on a more focused, with more focus, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So without further ado, I will go ahead and pass the virtual microphone over to my good friend, Patrick O'Hagan, to see all the upcoming product from WizKids.
Great, thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it. We have a lot coming, and one of the great things is we know what's going on in the world. We really do, and we know that specifically where my focus is at WizKids is an RPG creation, and that includes great things like Dungeons and Dragons and Paizo, as well as our own product from WizKids, Warlock tiles, etc. I'm going to go through a lot of the focus. The focus today is really kind of D&D and some Paizo as well as WizKids, but Scott did mention the paint and take kit. So one of the really, really cool things that I can definitely show you, here's what the Manticore looks like. And I'm sure you're familiar, but if you're not familiar, what we did is we took a miniature from one of our upcoming sets. This is the Manticore coming out in our wave 12 of the unpainted miniatures, which comes out probably in the next month. And so the miniatures do. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to take miniatures from each wave, if you think about it, and create fully enclosed, encompassed, basically sets. And so I'm opening the box here. What this will do is it'll have a miniature. So out of the box, you'll have a miniature. You can do this for your basically in-store paint and take. So you have a miniature which comes out. That's the Manticore. But beyond that, and I'm opening the box, it'll have 12 Vallejo paints that are labeled with 2 brushes and a paint pot, as well as a tray that can be used for actually use on, so that the tray can be used for painting in store. What we learned from our kind of like, I would say, beta test when we did it before is that it's really nice to have a self-enclosed environment or self-enclosed kind of like paint and take kit. So we did that. The first one is the Manticore, which comes out very soon. The next one is the Ogre Zombie. And then we have plans to do, in effect, 6 a year. And so I know my colleague Sarah, who heads up marketing, is on as well. But in effect, we have a lot of really good plans to help in-store paint and take kits really drive the kind of behavior we expect. And so what they will be in the future is they will drive And you will even get a pre-release of the unpainted waves about probably a month to a month and a half prior to the actual wave being released, and then another one while into the wave. So it'll be 2 popular waves. But again, we're very, very excited about the actual paint and take kits. But let me talk to you about the kind of road ahead. And so what I'm going to do is I've actually taken. I'm going to close my door. I'm sorry, guys. What I've done is I'm going to take you through, in effect, the road ahead. And I'm going to take you through a modified, I don't know how many people went to the Gamma Trade Show, but in effect, what I've done is I've been able to take the Gamma Trade Show presentation and update that for you, kind of just updating it with really what we've added and what we can share post-Gamma. And so without further ado, let me go through some of the really cool things that are coming. And Scott, obviously, I think, Scott, you can cut in with questions at any time. You don't have to wait for the end if you want to.
We'll do. We'll the chat and let you run the show.
Okay, great. So let's dive into what's coming. And because there's a lot. There is really a lot. Now, I'm going to try to save about 10, 15 minutes for the end to really kind of answer any questions you have. But please, like I said, if you have any questions, ask them anytime. So let's talk about pre-painted miniatures. One of the first things that I think are really critical with us is that WizKids offers complementary products paired with, we're just talking about Wizards right now at least, the books that come out with it. So Ghost in Startmarsh, we had the actual Falling Starship. With Dungeon of the Madmans, which again you could think is a while ago, we had a board game and we had the booster set. With Icewind Dale, which Wizards of the Coast just recently released, we're going to actually have a lot of things. And so I just put the booster on here, but we're going to have a booster product. We're going to have a brick product. We're going to have a premium product. We actually have another premium product that comes at the end of, well, not the end, but in January. We're creating a gargantuan white dragon. We're going to have paper craft houses. We really, when it comes to Wizards, I would say storyline releases, we're really going in with them and creating a lot of product that utilizes that kind of like push that Wizards is doing to help people in the process of within the actual presentation itself, not the presentation, but the actual rollout of the actual set itself. So the other thing that I wanted to mention is that the core of this is we're reprinting all the old sets as well. So a lot of you, it's funny, you know, I go to shows, I'll go to Gamma, I'll go to any of the shows, and I talk to a lot of retailers. And a lot of retailers don't realize that you can actually get previous bricks and boosters from sets all the way back to Tyranny, to Elemental, to Rage of Demons, to Monster Menagerie, Storm King's Thunder, etc. We have a really strong lineup of reprints coming. And Scott, I don't know if you want to mention anything on that, but I know that, you know, I know that GTS is really, you know, I communicate with Scott on when we're reprinting and how we reprint, but just wanted to let everyone know who's here that you can order a lot of the old sets as well. Now, you may not want to order them at a large, at kind of a large level, but again, it goes back to, I just wanted to let you know that they're available.
Yeah, we do announce the reorders through our website, put them up, you know, refresh the dates when we know that they're coming up. So those should be available and noticeable, but I'm sure we could do an even better job of putting that out before our retailers.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that we're thinking of doing too is helping that process by communicating more directly with retailers, with obviously our distributor partners, but also, you know, communicating with our retailers as well. And so the key thing is that we've kicked off a Facebook group that is focused on communication to retailers, because, you know, we love working with Scott and we love working with GTS, but sometimes there's just so much coming that Scott, sometimes things get missed on our side, on your side, and all sides, right? And so one of the things that we're doing is trying to communicate directly so that you can not again, this is around so that you can go to your distributor and order it. And so you're going to see a lot more of that, at least communication through distribution, as well as to retailers direct. One of the other things too is that we're really focused on expanding the line of the pre-painted and the pre-painted kind of miniatures. And the biggest thing we have coming is this series of adult dragons. And I'm going to be able to show you, I have pictures of the Sapphire Dragon and the White Dragon we've released. I'm going to actually show you the next one coming up that we haven't solicited, but comes out in December. But you can imagine that we're going to basically create a miniature for almost all the sets, as well as create ancient, gargantuan ancients coming up as well. That really go back to the day of, I think a lot of us remember the Colossal Red. That was a very, very big dragon. And I don't think we're going to create something that large, but we're going to create something that's close to it in size. So let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons and pre-painted miniatures. The really cool thing is that with our kind of, I would say, double down focus on D&D, you're going to see a lot more miniatures. And so let's just go through what those miniatures are and just really focusing on the rest of 2020. And I'll give you hints of what's coming in 21. But the first thing I want to let you know is the Mythic Odysseys of Theros, the book that came out from Wizards of the Coast. We actually have a full miniature line with it. So what you can see are the booster, and I'll have pictures of the actual booster products, as well as a picture of the Polychronos, the World Eater, which is the premium. So this comes out in this month, and it really is, it may come out early August, depending on really a lot of different things. But if you think about it, it is a booster brick set that supports the Theros book that Wizards of the Coast just came out with, the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So there's a whole slew of pictures. You can kind of, it's a Greek themed book, and the Greek themed allows us to do things like, you can see that Medusa in the kind of right-hand corner, and there's just so harpies and centaurs. It's a really, really strong set. If you remember the days gone past with Ravnica, Ravnica was a great set, but the theme wasn't what, we weren't able to connect the theme, I think, to a lot of really core D&D, as well as Theros is able to. And so you can see actual pictures here. Here are some renders of just some beautiful, dryads, and just looking, you can see again, going back to just how beautiful the set is. So that's Mythic Odysseys of Theros. It comes out late July, early August. It definitely is a great set. Has Polychronos as the premium. The other thing I want to mention is that we are, you can see the renders here, and then I have real life images here of some of the kind of sets. Here's, for instance, the Goliath, which you can see on the upper left. When I go to trade shows, and when I did go to trade shows, and will go again, obviously one of the happiest things I get to do is actually talk to retailers. And retailers told me point blank, we love your premium painted figures, but customers tell us there just isn't enough of them. So we released, I want to say about a year ago, 6 of them. And it was really a test. And actually it was 5 of them. We released 5. And it was really a test. Will customers go to the rack they have, the miniature rack, and actually be able to pull off a miniature that's pre-painted in a blister? It's $7.99, but will they actually resonate, and will it resonate with customers? Well, 3 reprints later, I think we've learned that they do. And the number one thing I heard from retailers is, hey, these are great, but it's not, I don't have a character I'm playing. There's not the character I want, which is the kind of feedback I heard over and over again. And so we doubled down. And so what we did is we released Wave 2. Wave 2 came out right in COVID. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen it. It came out in March and April. And then Wave 3 comes out in August, right? So Wave 3 has actually, you can see 10 figures. Wave 4 comes out at the end of the year, and that'll have another 10 figures. And so it'll be followed with, if you think about it, wave after wave. And these should look familiar, because what we're doing with this is we're taking the most popular unpainted miniatures, taking them out of that two miniature set, having them painted exquisitely, and then putting them in a package. And so it will, in our minds, it will work well with your unpainted rack. So the wall space you've dedicated for the unpainted line, which I'll talk about a little bit later, will really work well with these painted lines, because they're going to be very similar. In fact, all of these miniatures are unpainted in some form, available for your customers to order. But that will be, you're going to see a lot more of that when I see, so you're going to have I talk about this imaginary wall. It's not, obviously, I'm talking to retailers, so it's not imaginary in your world. And so this wall has a series of unpainted, it has a series of painted, it has a series of bricks and boosters, right? What it has is it has a lot of just detail for you guys to really expand and shrink or grow or whatever you want based on how well your store does on a lot of this kind of pre-painted products. One of the sets we came out with in June, the Archon and the Archon, the Cruel, and the Dark Order. This was a Baldur's Gate kind of tie-in to Descent into the Avernus. It did really well. You know, it did better than our expectations. And so I'm just calling this out because it was a very popular set. It's one of those things where it's a kind of starter meets product that isn't really a starter, that obviously is linked to the actual story guide. Obviously, we worked with Joe Manganiello, who Archon is his character. If you're familiar with Joe's engagement, Joe is an actor who also is an avid D&D player, and is a really forefront in the community of really kind of pushing for D&D is healthy and D&D is good kind of attitude. But that's something I just want to emphasize. It came out in June. It's still doing very well. I don't know, Scott. Do you guys have any? I know you guys ordered some, but Scott, I think you had. I know you have some. So
yes,
yeah. So here's just better pictures of Archon. I'm sure you've seen some of this online already. Here's the Wave 2 pictures of what I mentioned before on the premium figures. You can see the Wave 3 comes out in August. Wave 2 came out in April. But you can just see all the different stuff that we're coming out with. All right. So let me show you the pictures of the Sapphire Dragon. So the Sapphire Dragon, if you remember, Wizards of the Coast had a 45th anniversary. And for their 45th anniversary, they actually created a whole dice set with sapphire inlaid and a whole book. And they came out with stats for the first Gem Dragon. And the first Gem Dragon is the Sapphire Dragon they've come out with for 5th edition. And what we were able to do, and this is an actual picture, but let me, I should have all the miniatures beside me. I apologize that I have a lot of miniatures all throughout my house, especially my office, but the picture doesn't do it justice. And so here's what the Sapphire Dragon looks in real life. And I'm just going to put a figure next to it so you can kind of see just how the figure looks with a medium creature. It is quite large, right? The Sapphire has a wing that comes off so it can fit into the nice box, but you can see just the size of the wing and how really exquisite it is. This comes out in August and has a retail MSRP of $69.99. The real focus of this launches our entire line of adult dragons, because this comes out, and I have some just additional pictures here. You can just see kind of just how big the miniature is and how detailed. It's a gem dragon, so it's supposed to be translucent. So it's a translucent kind of sapphire. But then if you think about it, this comes out in early August. In late August, we have the adult white dragon. And the adult white dragon, I'm not going to grab my adult white dragon, because if I showed you all the minis in person, I would have no space to actually maneuver around my desk right now. But this one comes out in late August. This was timed on purpose to be with the Icewind Dale set. You can see you can see in this next picture this kind of size against medium characters. But again, this just goes back to show you, like, the first 2 adult dragons come out in the first month, and that really, the Sapphire Dragon was supposed to come out earlier, but due to COVID issues, it really just got pushed back. And I didn't want to push the white dragon back beyond Icewind Dale. But these first 2 come out in August, and they're really, really large miniatures. They're adult, not gargantuan, right? The gargantuans are going to be even bigger, and those come out. The first one of that comes out in January. But let me go on to the next one. So I mentioned Icewind Dale, and so really what I want to put focus on is that we always work with Wizards of the Coast on their big story, their big storyline. And the big storyline for 2020 is Icewind Dale, Rime the Frostmaiden. It's a great how do I say, it's a great book. I've only read pre-copies. I don't have the actual full one, but I can tell you it really comes to life and brings to life a lot of the kind of use. From our perspective, the miniatures really were very fun to create with the set. And you can kind of see on the upper left-hand corner, or the up left-hand corner, we have an abominable Yeti. And that abominable Yeti is a gargantuan Yeti. It's not like, if you think about size-wise, there's the Yeti, which is large, the abominable Yeti, which is huge. So it's not gargantuan, sorry, it's huge. But the point being is it's quite large. Right next to you have a crag cat. But the set comes out in September. The booster is $135.92, and that's because it's a huge booster set. So each booster is $16.99. The premium set, which is a dragon, and I'll let you go online to look for that. It's a Chardolin dragon, but I don't have any pictures of that, just because we've been asked to keep some of the secret sauce of the adventure kind of hidden, if that makes sense. But that comes out in September. And there will be, Wizards will be talking about that quite a bit as this comes out. So it'll probably come out in mid-December. But it will be in line with when Wizards comes out with their book for their next big storyline push. Here's some just better pictures. You can kind of see the set includes a frost giant skeleton. It includes a tomb tapper. It includes, so it's funny, like in August, late August, we're coming out with an adult dragon. In January, we're coming out with our first gargantuan dragon. That'll come out in January. In the actual set, in the booster, we actually have a young dragon. The funny thing is I actually almost put in a wormling. So the set would have basically every age category of white. Now, for those that know D&D, you're probably getting excited about that. For people who are like, I don't know D&D, but my customers know it. That would be just so that we can really push the kind of white dragon and the theme of the set, which is cold, ice, winter, etc. The other set comes also with a snowy owlbear. I think probably a lot of you are familiar with our owlbears. Comes out with a snowy owlbear. It just has so many lots of animals. You can see the winter wolf with the mountain goat. Wonder what's going to happen to that mountain goat, unfortunately. But you can imagine that the set is just full, jam-packed with really, really amazing miniatures. It's a huge set, like I mentioned, so it has a lot of really cool things coming. Any questions, Scott, on the Icewind Dale set or anything I've mentioned so far?
Not specifically on Icewind Dale, but there was a question about whether or not WizKids has considered doing a dedicated floor, like a branded spinning rack or something to help conserve wall space. It was Rob from Family Fun who said that has WizKids considered offering branded floor spinner racks to try to help stores conserve wall space. They stock the entire D&D line and are running out of room.
Rob, yes, we have. I don't know if Sarah is still online, but it is something. So my boss Justin and I have talked a lot about helping out with spinner racks or wall racks, just to help out. Nothing coming very soon, but I can say, Rob, we are looking into it and working on things. I can say that, I had I'm not pushing Gamma by any means. That's not my role, but I did have a whole session at Gamma on like sharing best practices with retailers so that they could basically had a whole session on like what are ways that you can conserve space, what are ways that you're doing it to in effect save space in store. But again, that being said, we are trying to help you with this wall space because we know we're filling it up. We really do. All right.
Another question coming from Julio, who's in Guatemala.
Yeah.
He asks if we are able to sell to Latin America. I don't know the specifics of what region. I apologize for not knowing, but that's something that I just don't have right in front of me. So is GTS able to sell to Latin America, or do you have a partner in Latin America?
We have a partner, but that doesn't mean that you can't sell. I would say that's a good, Scott, that's a good question for CJ Dara. I can also take it, Scott, if you want, and find out. I know who our partner is, but rather than me list who the partner is, why don't I find the answer if GTS can sell to Latin America?
Yep. And Julio, I'll get back to you on that specifically.
Okay. So again, I just looked at the time and I want to save some time for Q&A at the end. So The next big thing we have coming is not the walking statue, which we came out with last year, but we do have the tower coming out. It really is coming out in October. It has an MSRP of $250. It comes apart. So let me just show you the actual just how big it is. It is 3 levels. It has removable parts. It all comes apart. It's interactive. The doors open, the windows come off, right? Each level comes off. It is massive in scale. For those of you who were able to see it at any of the shows, pre-COVID, it is big, and I can say it's going to be part of our kind of line of, I would say, prime. I'm calling these prime miniatures, our terrain, but it's part of this whole line of just making sure we showcase and have really high-end things for people who want to buy them and have maybe a little bit of extra disposable income. As well as, for things, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Like, I'm mentioning something with high income. And Scott, I don't have a slide for this, but I did want to call out just more pictures of the tower. I did want to call out that in October we actually have a line of our first one for the Essentials kit, the D&D Essentials kit. We have a full line of 2D minis coming out. And you can kind of see here is just one of the minis. This is the Ogre. And you can see, I just took it off its base. It's 2 dimensions. It's acrylic. Really, what we're trying to get at is, I want to be able to showcase things that are $250 and disposable income. For your customers that have a lot of disposable income, I just really want something like the tower, because when I was 21, I would have saved for something like this tower because I really wanted it. The fact is, we understand how expensive our line is getting. And so what we're looking at is creating whole lines of product that go at all different levels of the kind of, I would say, socioeconomic spectrum. And so, for instance, the Ogre I'm just holding up here is part of a pack of 4 that is in support of the D&D Essentials kit. So it'll have all the monsters and characters from and within the D&D Essentials kit. But each pack will be $15 or $14.99. And contain anywhere between 15 miniatures and 20 miniatures, right? So it will be a way that you can get miniatures, or players and customers can get miniatures that are much more affordable, right? Now, it's funny, I always like to do this because I can show you the 2D mini next to the 3D mini, because this is the mini, if you think about it, from the actual cave set. You can see it's very similar, but obviously, if you had the money and you wanted to spend it on this, for $25, you get 6 miniatures that are in line with this versus for 15 for this. Again, it really is a way, coupled with some papercraft houses that we're doing and some papercraft things that we're pushing, to get at multiple different aspects of the brands to allow customers to bring in, to do many different things into your stores. And so going back to that, I'm going to show you a couple things that are on that high end. So I just talked about papercraft, I talked about 2D, and what I didn't talk about with the 2D is that we're coming out with the Essentials kit in October, and then in December we're actually going to have the Icewind Dale, basically creatures and monsters from the Icewind Dale set, come out in December. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole line of, it's not going to just be one set of 2D minis. These are going to be boxed up. They're going to, the 2D minis are going to be in clamshells that can fit and stand on their own. I wish I had one. It's coming. I should have it any time. But think of a clamshell that collapses and goes in like this and stands on its own, or hooks into a rack, right? Those are going to come out. The first one comes out in October, and then December, and then we have a whole line of them coming out to support new miniature sets we have, but also we're going to go back and do the old miniature sets. So you can imagine like Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which is a good example. More than likely, we'll have the miniatures in 2D for the monsters for Dungeon of the Mad Mage, for Avernus. And so we'll be able to have a lot of different miniatures for, like I said, a lot of the different socioeconomic spectrum. The next thing I want to show you, which you can see on your screen, is the Owlbear. So this is the next trophy plaque, and a lot of people are excited about this. This comes out in this may come out in December due to issues. It may come out in January, but I can tell you it's coming out. It looks really good. And so that's at least one thing we're coming out in December. The other thing that I want to mention, and I told Scott that I would just show this. I mentioned the Sapphire Dragon. I mentioned the White Dragon. I want to show you at least the gray version of the Black Dragon. This is the next adult series of Dragon, which comes out in December as well. So again, you can kind of see, I put a little miniature on that to just see the scale. But I wanted to tell you that we are very serious about coming out with the adult series of dragons and making sure they come out in a kind of timely manner. So you probably have heard of the Yawning Portal. Due to COVID, we decided to push the Yawning Portal to April of next year. And so you can kind of see this. I don't know if you've been able to see this. This was at Gamma, all put out. But again, this will come out as a working Infinity Mirror that looks like that. This is going to be costly. And I mentioned the kind of papercraft in 2D as well, to make sure you understood that this is something that's aspirational, and we want people, I mean, this is, when I was young and I was an avid D&D player and RPG player, and this would be something that I would have loved to have. But the point being is that this is going to be expensive, and it has lots and lots of pieces and beds and spiral staircases and stage doors and right? This is really meant to be high-end, exquisite. But this comes out in April. If you've been lucky to see it, it's just jam-packed full of pieces. But yeah, I just wanted to, I know people were going to ask about this because we've announced it before, but due to COVID, we had to move things around, and we worked with Wizards to really make sure the calendar didn't have too many things in each month, because there were certain months that many, I think, manufacturers had issues selling into retail just because everything was shut down. So that's my D&D presentation. I'm going to move to Pathfinder, but I wanted to stop to make sure that there are any other questions.
And there are, of course.
All right.
Yes. So question from Manuel: are the product lines going to release at the same time or closer to Wizards releases, as products don't release at the same time, like Arkham the Cruel? So Arkham was a little behind, or a little later than the Avernus release. Yeah. Our timeline's going to shorten on that?
Yeah, I mean, so I won't talk about the Arkan should have released earlier. We had planned to have it released earlier this year. Due to COVID, it released much later. That wasn't because we didn't want it to release. But to answer your question, yes, we in every way and form want to release our product to come out exactly when Wizards comes out with their product. COVID aside, our goal is to make sure to launch things with the book. And so, Wizards has a lot, how do I say this nicely? There are things that are coming out this year that I wasn't able to show you because Wizard hasn't announced it yet. But I can say the good thing is that all of those come out when Wizards has their product. Good thing is, for instance, the Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden. That set should come out like a week before the book, or even maybe days before the book, right? So the goal would be to time all of our product releases to when the Wizards release comes out.
And we've definitely seen improvement on that just in the last year. So I'm excited about those things getting closer together. That'll be a great thing. Will there be unpainted versions of the dragons?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I'm talking to retailers, so I can tell you there will be, but when that happens is yet to be determined, meaning it would make no sense for us not to come out with unpainted versions of these dragons. But it will be 9 to 10 to 12 months post, right? So it won't be anytime soon. So that pretty logical if you've seen our lines. We come out with a painted product, and about a year later, 9 months, 10 months later, we come out, if something is really popular like the Falling Star or the Kraken or other things like that, then we come out with a painted version, and then we come out with an unpainted version. So the answer is more than likely, yes, and it will be sometime after.
Okay. And then Derek asks, does submitting the Paint Night form place the order for the kits, or do we need to order them separately? I ask because the kits are not orderable on our website. That's for me, and I will say that yes, if you fill out that form on our website for the Paint Night kits, that does secure your order. You can also talk to your GTS sales rep about it. There were some technical issues regarding how we are ordering this through WizKids that kind of forced us to take this route rather than allowing stores to just order them on the website. There are some limitations involved, so that's why that's the way it is. But yeah, if you fill out that form or talk to your sales rep, that'll get you in there on the paint night kit. Two more questions. Rob asks, what is a guesstimate on the price of the Yawning Portal? If you can speak to that at all.
I would say anywhere between $375 and $450.
And just to confirm that it is looking like a pre-painted product?
Oh, 100%. It will be 100% pre-painted.
All right, that catches us up.
All right, great. Let's talk about Pathfinder. So we talked about D&D, and I'm gonna how much time do I have? I have a little bit of time. So with Pathfinder, I'm really excited to mention we have a set that is coming out imminently called City of Lost Omens. And so what you can see are 3 dragons from the set. The black on the left, the red on the right, those are actually part of the set premium that it comes out. And then the green is actually within the actual box set itself. So let me show you the SKU numbers, and so you can just see. It's called City of Lost Omens. It is beautiful, and I'm going to show you some really good pictures. The dragons are exquisite. Look at that ogre zombie who's torn his hand off to use it as a club. It's just amazing, right? The art coming from Paizo and Pathfinder is just really, really, really amazing. So this comes out, like I said, this month. It's really, really cool. It has an MSRP of 127, but you can 128 basically. You can see the SKU numbers, but let me show you the miniatures, right? So you can see here are the renders, but here are the actual miniatures that you can see on some of them. So here's the green dragon. It has a dinosaur, centaurs. You can see, look at the seahorse with the rider. And I wish I could show you that many. I could, but it's in a bin right to my left of me. But the point being is it's so exquisite. The paint quality of these miniatures are really nice. The set is really, really strong. So this set, we decided to actually do something a little bit different. And so what we did really was to focus in on just making sure that there was a premium, but also, and here's just more pictures of the main set, more pictures of the main set. It has some, of course, not surprisingly with Pathfinder, it has some dungeon dressings that are really cool. But we also came out with a Thieves Guild, another premium set. We come out with 2 premium sets. So moving forward for a lot of the different sets, you may have seen a change in our process and standards about creating a lot of dungeon dressings as part of the premiums. We're not going to do that as normal now. In fact, for the most part, premiums are all going to be monsters. They're all going to be organic, as I say. And that if we want to do things like the Thieves Guild or, say, Hollister's Lab or something else, we're going to do them as separate premium sets, right? And in those separate premium sets like this one, where what you can't see is all of these things come out. Those 2 beacons, those 2 kind of like things in front light up, and they have like this bloody oozy goo. It's really gross. There's a trapdoor behind this. This is really set up to be a really cool set. Let me show you some just better pictures of it. So here you can see that those two lights light up, and then it's just it has a training. So there's a training door. There's there's an archery range. There's of course a gambling table with cards. It's just a fun set. It really is. And so this comes out this month, and we're really excited about City of Lost Omens as well as the Thieves Guild for Pathfinder. But yeah, that comes out and will be out for a while, of course. The next thing for Pathfinder we really wanted to emphasize was this 3 feet tall goblin, right? So this goblin is planned to come out in October, November. And it is 3 feet tall and does, I wish I had pictures of this, but honestly, the pictures that I have of this with our partners right now look exactly like this figure. It is amazing. Let me show you just some better renders and pictures of it, but you can kind of see just how cool it is. This is foam. So if you've seen some of our other foam, like you've seen our foam heads, so you'll know, but we're going to start coming out with full-size, life-sized figures very soon. This is the first one in the Pathfinder line. We're going to have more in the D&D line, but just focusing on Pathfinder, this is a life-size goblin with sword, and it's really, really amazing. The retail price on this is $450. So the MSRP is, I should say. You guys set the retail price, not us, but the MSRP price is $450. So moving on to Starfinder, you know, one of the key things that I think we've all noticed is that there's just this lack of sci-fi miniatures in the market. So we came out with 2 starters, and so we have 2 starters coming out. They come out this month. There's the Monster Pack, which has just weird, strange creatures from Starfinder. You can see 6 here. This comes out. 2 of them come out. So here's the Monster Pack. Here's the PC Pack, right? This comes out now in July. And then in January, we're actually coming out with a full-on booster product with a premium set. And that full-on booster product will have, it's a smaller booster product. It's going to be 35 miniatures. But again, for stores that like sci-fi, because really what we did is when working with Paizo on this, we know that there are many, many people who play Starfinder. But there's also a lot of people who play a lot of sci-fi. And so part of the kind of selling points of this for us was that you can use this for sci-fi, you can use this for Starfinder, so you can use this for Starfinder, you can use this for sci-fi, you can use this for a lot of different aspects of your game. But these 2 starters are coming out this month, available now, and then in January coming out with a full booster product. So the other things that I don't have slides for is just like with D&D when we had the premium painted set, we're coming out with 6 premium painted Pathfinder, and those will come out not as frequently as the D&D ones, but those will come out. They will be $7.99, just like the premium painted for D&D, and be focused on unpainted miniatures in the Pathfinder lineup, right? So you can imagine that all the things that we're doing with D&D, at least in the premium painted side, we're gonna be following up with on the Pathfinder side as well. All right, that's my Pathfinder presentation. Again, so much more to coming in next year, but I just wanted to give you the kind of lineup of what's coming out now. Any questions you have?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. First one is in regards to the paint night kit. Is there a chance of a year-round learn to paint kit, or are you planning on frequent releases for that?
Yeah. So let me ask the second one first. Frequent releases, our plan is to come out with 6 paint night kits a year. So when it comes to how the set grows, Sarah, who is, she was online, I saw her really briefly. Sarah and I are working with Justin and obviously the distributors to come out with like what we should do to grow, change that whole program. But you can say the Manticore that I showed you is the first miniature in the kind of full release schedule. So if you think about it, we beta tested, it went really well. Now we're in full production, and I can say as we learn more from retailers, we're going to adjust to maybe have what you mentioned, like a full annual program. So much more to come on that paint night kit and paint night program. But it really is super, super popular. And we want to do a lot of different things with it, potentially even other brands. Like obviously we've teamed up with Wizards of the Coast with D&D, but can we do like for family? Can we do a pony night? Can we do other things? And so those are things we're looking into.
Great. The other question was about unpainted. It's from Alex. He asks, any chance of unpainted Starfinder figures like D&D and Pathfinder?
Yes. We will see the first Starfinder unpainted. There won't be a lot of them, but there will be some. And those will start coming out with the 15th wave. So if you think about it, you think that's far away, but we're already planning the 16th wave, right? So wave 12 comes out next month. Wave 13 comes out in November. I'm planning that to come out in probably May, June of next year. So a year away. I know you think, oh my God, why is it so far off? Well, miniatures take a long time to make. So that's the only response I have on that. But the answer is yes.
Okay, brings us up.
All right, let me just catch it.
I'm sorry, there is one more.
Yeah.
Let's see. Since the Unpainted Hero Clicks releases are not tied to the Clicks organized play program, is there a chance WizKids will offer them to other distributors?
I'm sorry, Scott. We'll have to take that offline.
Yeah.
I'm not a HeroClix expert by any means, so I can't answer that question. Not because I won't. It's because I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I will just say that to date, we have not been able to purchase that product line. So whether or not that changes is a conversation for myself and Justin next week.
Gotcha. So I'm going to take the next maybe a couple minutes and just go through some of the 4D things we have coming out because we have a lot. I'm not going to be able to focus on Warlock. I just didn't have the time. So we just so you know, we do have Warlock coming out in the next couple of weeks. If you don't know about it, I'm hoping Scott can give you all the information on our Warlock releases. But I can say the Warlock releases that we're doing, the first 8 releases we have coming out in 2 weeks, are going to be followed up with the full wall sets in November. Are going to be followed up with corners and curve sets in January, with the town square in January. Let's just say we probably have, I want to say in just the Warlock line alone, I want to say 25 individual product SKUs coming out in the next year and a half, right? We are dedicated. It is a full-on coming out with the first core set, full walls, corners and curves, 1 inch, right? So you can actually complete a lot of the different things, because right now they're going to come out within 2x2 tiles like you see here. We're coming out with a cave and tunnel set. We're coming out with the town square, which lets you, if you're familiar with Legos, it lets you take the tiles and build a town with roads in a way you want, so you can put your buildings on top of it. So it lets you modularly build a town. We're coming out with a dungeon dressing that goes along with that has things like stocks and gallows and market squares. So we're going after kind of that medieval town feeling. And then we're going to come out with sewers. What I'm saying is, if you haven't heard my spiel on Warlock, we are dedicated, we are there, and we're there for the long haul, for a long, long ride with tiles into the future. So that being said, let's talk about the bridge. The bridge comes out in July, August. That has an MSRP of $150. It is really nice. And so if you haven't seen this, the set comes out and is really modular. One of the things that we really want to do on our line of Warlock, as well as 4D, is make sure you buy something to get multiple use out of it. So what you see here is how the bridge can actually has risers and can actually be a lower bridge. It can be a wider bridge. So you can see here, this was taken at Gamma, where we had the bridge. So you can kind of see, if I take off the bottom risers, the risers are the kind of green bits where it's going up. In the middle part, the bridge is lower. You can also see in the middle, there's actually an extender, kind of like, you have at Thanksgiving, your Thanksgiving table. So we can take that out and actually make a smaller bridge. Whatever the case, what I wanted to show you was that there's just a lot of stuff coming out that fit this bill that enable you to expand your gaming table in this kind of prime world. Another thing coming out, this comes out in September. This is the Adventurous Campsite. And really, it's called Encampment. And I'm sorry I didn't catch this. The original name was Adventurous Campsite, but we already have an Adventurous Campsite. This is called Encampment. And I'll correct it right now. Look at that. I apologize, guys. It's called Encampment. And in reality, what it is I'm just going to go back to presentation mode. It comes out in September. It has everything you see here for $40. One of the things that we really want to do on our 4D line is create foils. And I say foils, I mean, if you've ever played an RPG game, you know what I'm talking about. There are, you always have to rest when you're traveling over land. And I wanted to create a structure where you can do this and have just all of the kind of 4D capture of what that looks like with a horse, a cart, tents, lean-tos, fires, a roasted pig. Sorry, it's a roasted hare. The point being is you get those foils. Another thing we wanted to do in the 4D line and kind of relaunching it is just make sure that it's just cool things. Everyone loves a trebuchet, right? And look at that price, $40, right? Now, it's not a functional trebuchet. Everyone's like, is it crossbows and catapults? Can I play with it? The answer is no. To make a workable trebuchet, I would have had to charge probably more than double that. So what I decided to do is, what you see here is a very large trebuchet for $40. But this comes out with a full line of things that are in our war machines Here's the next one we come out with. And this is, sorry, this is December. The next one is December as well. Last night I was correcting these and I didn't correct that. But this comes out December, but then there's 2 more coming out 2 months later. So you can see in the 4D line, what we're coming out with are things like things that are foils or things that are just, I don't want to cuss because I don't know who people are. But I can say really cool minis. How's that sound? And then I'm going to end, just because we have 6 minutes, to talk about some unpainted miniatures. So if you haven't heard, we are moving to new configurations. And I'm actually going to show you, but I'm going to talk about them for a brief second. One of the things we realized is that with our unpainted line, we just were missing a lot of minis that were too big for the small and too small for the double wide from price point. And so we created a new category called talls. And let me show you what it looks like. But if you think about it, what that means is we're going to keep the small price at $4.99, the double wide stay at $14.99, creating a new tall category at $8.99, and we're adding color. So now, you know, lo and behold, you can say, how much are the yellow miniatures? Well,